you guys. Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, like I said, I'd make a video when I got home. Yeah, I was talking earlier about when I was out in the snow there, about my dog dying a year ago yesterday, and how this being the anniversary of an anniversary. It goes back to September 11th, 20 years ago. 20, more than 20 years now, but anyway, um, so that 311 is our new 911, and we knew about that back in 2020 if some of us were awake on that. Anyway, yeah, I do things. I don't know, man. My life's been weird. I was down in the ravine there, and that's where I took my dog a lot. We did a lot of poking around in the bush and in the hillside and stuff, and I don't know. It's just that's Robin Bendick, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, I've been studying a lot of crazy stuff for a very long time, and I've been awake for quite a while, man. My life has been really crazy. Um, my mother died when I was 10, turning 11. That was back in March of 1973. And she got sick in the fall of 72. So 6 months later she was dead, which was kind of like a wham bam. I didn't know what to do about it. And I was kind of like very naive and innocent and, 10 years old kind of thing, right? And then my aunt and uncle, my uncle who's from Wales, Uncle Tom, he's an aircraft engineer, or he was, he's passed away now. He lived in Canyon Country, Los Angeles, and he worked for Lockheed McDonald, and he designed the engines for the L-1011. Actually, he worked for Rolls-Royce because his paycheck said Rolls-Royce, and he was basically contracted out to Lockheed. And he designed the engines. He was an aircraft engineer. And my cousin's an aircraft engineer today, but now he's retired. He's actually my brother's age, my older brother. And he's an aircraft engineer as well, worked for Rolls-Royce. He's living in Seattle. My Uncle Tom, he ended up retiring in Scottsdale, Arizona. And anyway, but he smoked a lot, and he ended up dying of lung cancer. Anyhow, so then I ended up was living with them for quite some time when my mother died. And then my dad, he had sold our house in Mississauga where I grew up, and then had my new address was 299 Mill Road, apartment 609 in Etobicoke, Toronto. And I went from farmland Mississauga to concrete jungle in downtown Toronto-ish, like suburbs. It was a nice neighborhood. I grew up in Markland Woods. I went to Silverthorne Collegiate Institute. It was at the time apparently the second highest academic school in Canada. And like a lot of people that I went to school with, their parents were like doctors and lawyers and corporate bigwigs and this and that and the other thing. And a lot of Silver Spoon kids went to this school. And I remember one of my buddies, my best friend Billy Robinson, one of them, his family was into the apartment building developments and stuff like that. He actually was his family was the Valentine family, and so they had Valentine developments and stuff like that. And they were an Italian construction gig, and they were quite big. I remember his Uncle Buff owned the King Albert Hotel on King Street, I do believe. He owned the Essex on Jarvis, and a few other of these big places. Plus, I don't know how many apartment buildings they owned in Etobicoke and thereabouts, but these guys weren't suffering. So I kind of grew up in this atmosphere where, like, nobody was hard done by, you know what I'm saying? However, I was going to high school, and I was kind of like the guy to know back then. It was kind of weird. I was doing a lot of acid and stuff in my high school days, and I was selling a lot of it, a lot of mushrooms and peyote and MDA and mescaline and you name it, I was selling it, right? And I remember the first time I banged speed, I was 14, and it was beige rock. I've seen the Rolling Stones 8 times. I've seen the Who 5 times. I've seen Bowie twice. I've seen Queen. You name it. I've seen them all. I've seen every big band. I've seen Pink Floyd twice, maybe even more than twice. I've seen them all. Aerosmith, Eric Clapton. I was so fucked on cocaine when I was at Eric Clapton. It was a good concert, but I was too fucked up. And like I said, I've seen them all. I've seen Simple Minds a couple of times. I've seen a Gang of Four. I've seen all kinds of crazy punk bands, you name it. Rush used to play my high school when I was back in the day. They played them once or something. They were just newbies then, back in the day, and I remember people that I know from high school that went to school with the band members in Rush, stuff like that. And anyway, then there's Max Webster and all that kind of gig, and we did all that, and you know, I remember going to an Alice Cooper concert, and he was so fucked up he couldn't even perform, so they canceled the concert. That was crazy. So I've been around, and anyway, so my father had to raise me, and I was kind of like the guy to know, and I had some buddies of mine that got in some shit and stuff, and another buddy of mine murdered another buddy of mine with a hammer over a $700 PCP debt, and then he buried him across the street for 10 years before they even found out about it. And I could say that one of the guys, another guy I knew, it was like the three of these guys were kind of weird. It was like John Dominski and Rob Nadler and Eric Pogson. And John Dominski would come to school wearing a dog collar around his neck, and he was all pumped up on steroids. This guy was like this Polish guy, and he had arms like Thor. And he would like, he's just like this real, he come out wearing all black leather and stuff like that. It was back in the 70s and 80s and, you know, stuff like that. And anyway, these guys were a mess because they were always taking PCP and stuff, and they were, like, that's angel dust, right? And I think it was shorting out their wiring or something because they were doing it all the time. But anyway, Eric was getting these really cool blotters, or not blotters, hits of acid that were like contact lenses, and they were $10 a piece back then, and like they were great, man, clean. I watched paintings drip and drain out on the wall, and all that stuff was great. But anyway, Eric went back to San Francisco to get more, and then he disappeared. Nobody's seen him after that. But apparently, he had came back to town and then tried to make a collect on the debt that the other guy, Hippie, Rob, owed him. They were best friends too, so. Anyway, he was over at his house, push came to shove, shove come to, Eric was just a squeaky little weasel guy, so he pokes him with the pool cue, and I guess Hippie picks up the claw hammer and caves Eric's head in, and then he goes upstairs because Eric's on the floor convulsing in the basement, and he grabs a kitchen knife, and then he goes downstairs and he stabs him like 30 some odd times or something, and then wraps him in a carpet, like one of those Persian rugs, and then puts him in a wheelbarrow in the garage, and then takes him across the street to the little outlet, woodlet, and buries him across there for 10 years. And then the other guy, Johnny Horvat and John Dominski and a couple other guys, I think Glenn was there. But John Dominski and Eric Pogson, who got murdered, and Rob Nadler, Hippie, the murderer, these three were buddies anyway. So when Hippie got drunk one night, after about 10 years or something like that, he tells John Dominski that he killed Eric, and to keep it hush-hush. So a couple of years go by, and then John Dominski and John Horvath and Glenn Innes, and I think there was somebody else there. Anyway, these guys were on the bus, TTC, Toronto Transit bus, and they're drunk, and I guess John Dominski, he pounds the shit out of the TTC driver over something real stupid, to the point where they ended up taking him down to 22 Division and charging him with attempted murder. As soon as they said that, then John Dominski starts singing the song about Eric getting killed by a hippie. And so then they let him go. And on a condition, I'm sure, that we'll have to catch Hippie in the act. And they said, well, the body's buried across the street from his house, but he doesn't know exactly where. So what the cops did is, Hippie was working up at the plant up the street there off of Dixie Road. And he'd take the bus down Dixie Road and then get off right near his house and then walk in from Dixie Road, or Cawthron, I can't remember. Anyway, but he didn't have to walk very far from the bus to his house. So he goes by from the bus after work one day, and he sees a surveying van there, and a couple guys across the street. They're poking around in the woods, like they're surveying. And so they were there for a couple of days. But these guys are cops. They're a fake survey crew. So one night, they packed up their stuff and they left, and they had a van down the road watching the woodlet, right? And sure enough, out come Rob Nadler, Hippie Nadler, and he goes right to the gravesite, and he starts poking around, seeing if they were fishing around there. Bang, they nailed him. Anyway, so that's some of the guys that I went up with. Then there was all kinds of other stories I could tell you about, but yeah, it was a sex, drugs, and rock and roll existence. It was all Rolling Stones, The Who, all British Invasion, Mind Control. You know, there was all the sports, everything was all there as well, you know, and then, you know, all the girlfriends and stuff, the women and the partying, and, you know, I mean, we weren't cheap partiers either, man. I mean, we did a lot of cool stuff, we did a lot of expensive partying, and like, one of my buddies, his name was Chris Blair, and his mother is actually a Labatt, and she owns Labatt's Brewery. But his father was a Blair, and he married into the family. So I mean, I remember going over to this guy's house on their bridle path, and this guy lived in like a mini castle. It was like, wow, man, what an estate, man! And I'm going in his basement there, which was massive, and playing chess on these like these chessboards that were made. They're made out of all this Mayan kind of carvings and stuff, and then the actual chessboard itself had these little men that were actually soldiers and stuff that were all carved, and it was like you were sitting on this big throne, then the middle was your chessboard, and then the other side was a big throne, and it was up on a big pedestal in the middle of the room. It was crazy, man. You walk out the backyard's all beautifully manicured backyard with swimming pool, and oh man, I mean, I had friends that had indoor swimming pools and stuff, so it was kind of weird, you know. But I didn't come from that silver spoon kind of thing. My father had his own business and stuff. It was kind of crazy, but anyway, so I had a lot of experience with hallucinogenics, like in my early teens, and I was a go-getter, and I wasn't afraid to do nothing. I was kind of always wondering how come you always had to pay for stuff my whole life. You know, I wasn't a thief. I mean, I did do some crazy things when I was high on drugs, Like, you know, me and my buddies would get high on LSD or acid, you want to call it. And like, I remember breaking in the liquor store 13 times at Burnthorpe Mall. This is really weird, man, because I mean, my whole life has been kind of strange and upside down. You know, my father said to me he thinks I was conceived when he brought my brother home after taking him out trick or treating on Halloween. And I was born in July, right? Anyway, and then lived at 299 Mill Road, apartment 609. And there's your sign for zodiac, which is Cancer, 69. And then the mall that I would go and we steal the booze from was at 666 Burnthorpe Road West, and we used to get off at the bus stop down the road there, sometimes at 399 Burnthorpe Road West, and all these numbers. My whole life has just been one kind of a matrix clusterfuck. And then, you know, like I said before, I mean, I ended up piling up on my motorbike. Right, I had a GS 750 in 1982, and I ended up T-boning the Ontario Hydro executive at Mississauga Road in Lakeshore. I ended up flying over the car and I hit a lamppost. And then my life changed from there, because then I became a carpet crawler for about 3 years, so I couldn't really do any walking around. Lived with my nurse for 3 years after that, from the hospital. I mean, I didn't have any problems getting girls. My whole life I've been blessed with that. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I think it's some days it's a curse. You know, even that's why I spent the last probably 5 years like on my own, just not even concerned about relationships and stuff. I have my dog, and well, my dog's been with me for a long time, but my issue with relationships, I just never. Look, I got grandkids. I got an 18-year-old son. His mother's almost 15 years younger than me, right? That was kind of like something that happened when I was 45-ish, right? 43, I think, right? And I'm blessed with a great 18-year-old son. My 18-year-old son has a Jeep, a Dodge Dakota pickup truck. He's been doing stonemason work for about 3 years now. He works with my son-in-law. And my daughter, she's got my 2 grandkids. They're 5 and 4, and they're doing great. And like I said in another video, that I was a single parent with my daughter since she was 6 years old. I went through crazy court cases for that, but you know, it was okay, because a lot of the players were on my side, because you know, I was all about being a parent, not a drug addict, and I wanted to be a responsible person for my daughter and raise her properly, and I think I did my best, right? You know, but anyway, my son's mother is a different gig, right? But I mean, after, look, I've had a few women that I've lived with for several years, and I've had lots of kids call me dad, and I'm a great kind of a parent, kind of a dude, and I love kids, and I love you know, being around family. It's just, I think it's part of my zodiac. I mean, I'm a family dude, a hardworking kind of a dude. I got a lot of respect for family, and like I'm good that way, right? But anyway, my life has been a clusterfuck, and I try and keep the truth going. I got my libraries, man. I got books everywhere. I got CDs. This is my 3rd library collection, by the way. Sometimes relationships don't work out too well, and you leave some things behind, you know. But anyway, it is what it is, and I study things that I try and find out the truth, and I don't believe in no Santa ball or no bullshit coming from NASA. I don't do educated people very well, right? I do smart people. Yes, I love smart people, but I mean, if you got an education and you're trying to teach me something, especially when it comes to your mathematics, oh my lord. Anyway, guys, I could go on, but I got the rally to go to tomorrow. I'm thinking, like, man, you know, that's another big old cluster chuck, right? You know, I don't know who these people think they are, but Anyway, I don't know how much more of that I can do. It's been over 2 years. Well, it's been over 2 years since I've been doing this, right? And even before I was doing this protest stuff with the situation here in Canada, I was protesting the 5G and the chemtrails, and I was going to these seminars and stuff. I remember going to see Graham Hancock and oh geez, there's all kinds. Look, my buddy Patrick White used to own Conspiracy Culture bookstore down in Roncesvalles and Queen, and this guy, he's even tried to bring David Icke into town, and he got caught up in Vancouver or something. And anyway, I mean, but this guy was linked into having all kinds of speakers, and he'd be putting on these presentations at the U of T and the Medical Sciences Complex and building and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't remember seeing any of the people at the protests at any of these convention type seminars. I mean, I've seen like people like L.A. Marzulli would show up. There's people like that, or the one guy from Missing 411. I've seen that. The guy about the Bigfoot and the cryptoids and stuff like that, and the cryptids. And that guy used to be what was he? L.A. City police detective for 20 some odd years. I can't remember his name now. I'm burnt out. It's another thing. I've had to learn how to walk too many times. I've been in car accidents and banged my head up so many times. I've had drug overdoses. Not only a motorcycle, but I was in a truck and I got in a car accident. And yes, I had the Halifax Regional Furniture Bank. I operated for pretty much close to 20 years because before that I actually ran the Metro Furniture Bank, and that was affiliated with Easy Pickings Furniture on Goddardson Street, which I worked there for several years as well with Marvin and his wife Edith, and that's where I learned about all the tricks and trade about the pawn shop, because this guy was he's a mover. He had a flea market gig going on and everything. But after things fell apart with him, then I started the Halifax Regional Furniture Bank, and I had the Metro Furniture Bank working with him, but then I closed that because this guy tried to sell some of the stuff that the Furniture Bank was. Well, I wanted to give something from the Furniture Bank to a woman, and he said, "No, I'm going to sell that." I said, "No, I already told the worker, because I work with the social services, so I told the worker I'm taking this brand new bed I just picked up over the woman." The guy wanted to sell it. I said, "Fuck that. Pardon me." I kept it on the truck and went and delivered it. And then I came back and I said, "I'm on my own, man. See ya." I opened up and 2 days later, I opened up the Halifax Regional Furniture Bank Society. Then within a couple of years, the province gave me the old Halifax Hospital down there at Barrington and South Park, Spring Garden Road, right in behind the courthouse. It was a 13-story hospital. I had the morgue, everything. I had the entire run of this 120-year-old hospital, man. Like I'm telling you, this was an old Tartar type style building, right? Anyway, so that was my gig in there for a while. 9/11 rolled around. I had 1,870 double hotel beds that provided to the 9/11 disaster in September 11, 2001. And then my son was born in 2004, right? Anyway, but then I was back in 2001. I was with somebody else at the time, and anyway. But I mean, I did a lot of stuff, man, and I've been awake for a long time. I ended up, it gets demonic, I guess, at times, right? I ended up having a relapse on drugs after I got hit in another friggin' accident. And then the doctor ended up putting me on Furanols for headaches, right? And then that opened up the dragon to my opioid addiction again. And then next thing you know, I was banging fucking Dilaudid and Oxycontins and shit like that. And then I ended up ODing. I ended up in a coma for like almost 5 months. And then I wonder if I'm still in the coma, because when I was coming out of the coma, I'd learned, pardon me, smoking another one. I'd learned how to walk again on that gig, right? You know, and then the wheelchair, the walking, you know, and then remember you got a cane, You know, it's a big thing when you jump from the curb down to the road and you don't fall on your face. You know, you got the cane. That's it. You know, you think of real accomplishments. And then, yeah, so I was saying, even when I came out of the coma, I was still laying around for about 6 or 8 months. Kind of like a fucking. You ever had one of those fucking? Almost like you had a brain fog. This lasted for about a year, right? But I mean, I went back to work after about 6 or 8 months. I was doing drywall with Gary Curry. I was working with his son Blair. And fucking Gary ended up doing a fucking cocaine overdose and died. That'll be fun. Anyway, I can go on, but I do study for things outside the box. I'm rereading The Light of Egypt again, because there's a lot of good stuff in here in regards to. I'm going back on the zodiac aspect of this right now in the back of the book 2. I just finished watching a video on alchemy, which I'm into that kind of weird stuff too. And this is from Count Saint Germain, the immortal German alchemist, which is got to do with a lot of this stuff, right? Smiley Jarrett's. Right? And you gotta read the stuff and find out. This is about ascending stuff. And yeah, I got a video over here. I got one of my computers in the shop right now, but I got a thing to do it there about the chemtrails. I hate chemtrails, man. And I'm also looking at some other things right now in regards to the poles, stuff like that. You know, I don't know if you guys are into that, but this is like your North Pole stuff, right? Anyway, and I got all kinds of stuff around here, but that's what I do, right? And then I try and get videos out there and upload stuff and try and share truth, man. And maybe I should start doing some live stuff or something, or start going on some people's. I used to do it. I was thinking about going on Kenny's TNT the other day, but I don't know. Sometimes you get tired. And I'm fucking not young, man. I'm in my 60th year of this shit.